Welcome back. The shocking reality of President Trump's immigration crackdown in American cities has been laid bare in the first 9 months of his presidency. We've seen one particularly cruel ICE tactic play out in a New York City courthouse. Immigrants will show up to their legally mandated court appearances, and some are arrested, detained, and even deported. Now, this tactic was highlighted last week on this powerful New York Magazine cover. It says the trap at 26 Federal Plaza. Every day in downtown Manhattan, immigrants arriving for routine hearings are targeted by ICE agents and taken from their families. Joining me now is New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. Mr. Lander makes a point of showing up to the courthouse in New York City to help escort migrants to and from court. He's been arrested for it. And also with us is Garrett Graff, journalist, historian, and New York Times bestselling author. Brad, ICE agents have increased a presence in New York City, especially at the courts, since Donald Trump has taken office. People who are terrified to actually do the right thing, to go to court, to check in with immigration courts, are being arrested and detained. Can you tell us about the story of Joel Camas, the 16-year-old New York City high schooler who was detained by ICE this week, despite having special immigrant juvenile status?
Yeah, so Joel is a sweet kid, loves pepperoni pizza and playing soccer, goes to high school at a school called Gotham in the Bronx, where they love him. He's learning English. He's been here, a year and a half. And he's by himself. His mom actually went back to Ecuador. He went down Thursday morning to 26 Federal Plaza for a routine check-in, and he has that special immigrant juvenile status, so it should have been fine. But just out of cruelty and because ICE has become a jailer of children, they took this 16-year-old and put him in detention instead of sending him back to school. Joel Camas is not a national security threat, and those street vendors on Canal Street are not a national security threat either.
Gary, you posted a column titled "ICE is Eating the Soul of America." And in that column, you write about the 4 things that have particularly struck you about ICE's operations. One of them being that everything is now ICE. We don't seem to have any different law enforcement associations and agencies, despite the fact that each of them is supposed to have a distinct function. Can you elaborate on what it is to have these lines blurred between different law enforcement agencies?
Yeah, so part of the issue is the administration's in immigration enforcement has begun to sweep up thousands of agents who are not working for ICE or Customs or Border Protection. These are FBI agents, U.S. Marshals, ATF agents, Secret Service agents, IRS agents are patrolling the streets of D.C., and that these are agents who are highly trained in areas of other federal law to do other types of investigations, including national security cases like espionage and counterterrorism, cybercrime, who are being reassigned to do sort of street level immigration enforcement. As many as a fifth of FBI agents are now believed to be working immigration cases. You might have as much as half of the ATF working immigration cases, and that it just sort of has turned into this giant blob of sort of brown shirted masked immigration agents on the streets of America. We've talked a lot about ICE and their tactics in the hallways of places like 26 Federal Plaza. The streets of Chicago are mostly being overrun by the brutal tactics of Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol agents under the command of Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, who has been sort of highly controversial and is actually being dragged into federal court this week because he is supposed to be violating the federal court orders against not using tear gas.
Brad, one of the things that occurs to me is the ability for ICE to move forward in the ways that they do because of the lack of accountability. And a lot of that is around the way that the narrative has been manufactured and pushed to the American people. I mean, you have, in some cases, ICE even sort of bringing their own film crews to make these arrests, to do these raids, and then sort of putting out the video via social media in a way that is really intended to seemingly to draw up support for what is they're doing. But they're in masks. They're not being seen. They're not revealing who they are and sort of operating covertly. How concerned are you about the lack of accountability that seems to exist?
I mean, that was such the case on Canal Street when those ICE agents and a mix of other federal agents showed up, did this raid. I mean, vendors have been selling knockoff Gucci bags on Canal Street for decades. There's not crime or national security threat risk. But they rolled up. They had News Nation and Fox News cameras with them. It was a made-for-TV raid. They caused chaos in masks. You showed some of the scenes, and then they show that to the world as though there's chaos. The cruelty is the point, and they want to make it look like there's chaos. And, of course, our challenge is we have to resist it. And I love that New Yorkers showed up to say, get away from those folks, to make clear people are citizens. You could see fear in the eyes of the ICE agents because their masks don't cover their eyes. But the scene looks chaotic, and that's part of what they're going for. Our challenge is to stand up for everybody's rights, but do it in a way that's peaceful and show what beautiful places these are, and that we're going to keep them that way.
Now, Brad, I want to stay there. I appreciate the call and the charge to stand up. You have gone to courts in order to help escort migrants in and out of court safely. You've also gone to jail and, or been arrested for it. For someone who's at home, who's watching this, who's saying, I want to support, I want to be an advocate, I want to, get in the fight on the side of what I believe is right, what do you say to them? Keeping in mind, yes, you went to jail, but you're also the New York City comptroller. So your experience in terms of how you're going to navigate through that process is probably different than that of the average New Yorker. So how do you sort of respond to them in this moment if they want to get involved?
There are so many ways for people to show up right now, and you don't have to risk arrest to do it, obviously. 7 million people were in the street last week for the No Kings March. I'm in court about once a week. There are people there every day giving people know your rights information, taking notes about who the individuals are facing cases. So if they are abducted, they can get connected to a lawyer to file a habeas proceeding. People are building neighborhood watch groups to provide information. This is a really critical time, and there's a few people's names we'll learn who are on the front lines. A few people will get arrested. Millions more will bear witness, will educate their neighbors on their rights. And, in New York, in Portland, they got cartoon frogs and naked bike rides. I think in New York City, we'll have outdoor dining against Trump. There's a lot of ways to show that we're better than this.
Our thanks to Brad Lander and Garrett Graff for that conversation. And coming up on Velshi, by now you've probably heard about the brazen daytime jewel heist at the Louvre earlier this week. We've got new developments in that cinematic crime saga. That's next. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Velshi on MSNBC.